Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Business Between Us podcast. I'm Siyonna, a business information systems major at the University of Pittsburgh.
And I am her mother, Dr. Nkem. I'm an entrepreneur, an executive, and lifelong learner. We're so glad that you'll be joining us again for another conversation that bridges the classroom to the boardroom.
Yes, so in our last episode, we talked about project management and how to work with triple constraints of scope, time, and costs. But today we're talking about something a little bit more personal, leadership, specifically through the lens of the Pitt LEADS program and other extracurriculars, and how it just helped me grow academically and professionally. And this hits pretty close to home, given that I go to University of Pittsburgh. We see you have our Pitt gear on. My grandfather actually went there and got his double masters. My mom was born like right on campus, so this is deep for us.
It sure is. And for me, leadership as a topic is a very essential part of your personal journey, your career journey, whether you're leading yourself or a team or an organization. Anyone who has been in leadership as I have for many years, I will tell you it always starts with knowing who you really are. You really cannot lead when you don't have sense of self. So that's a very important place to start.
Yes. So to go into the PITS LEADS program, what it is, it stands for Leaders Engaging and Developing Strengths. And I joined my freshman spring semester because I want to build more confidence in how I collaborated with my peers and communicated my leadership skills. For context, I feel like I've been a leader pretty much my whole life. Being the first of three girls at home, especially in an African household, they call us the ada. So I'm kind of like that other head of the household that's just like helping, you know, rear up my sisters. So I'm always looking after them. But I also did things more professionally in high school. I was the president of the boxing union at my school. I founded my own dance group called the Afro Leads. It did like Afro hip hop fusion type dancing, and along with other things like student government, minority scholars program, if you are familiar with any of these. And then moving into Pitt freshman fall, I joined the hall council in my dorm building. And I was leading the social media page for a gospel choir on campus. So I was just like a leadership, like keep going and going and going. But through the Pitt Leads program, I learned more about influence and integrity and purpose when it comes to the intentionality of being a leader.
Um, just listening to how you articulate your leadership journey is amazing. I will just echo what you said. Traditionally, as the Ada, which is the firstborn girl in an Igbo family, there's a lot of responsibility on your shoulder in terms of um, providing guidance to your younger siblings. Besides that, being aware and paying attention to the family needs and how you can support and lead in many ways. So from a young age, you had um, always taken that on with so much honor and grace. Um, like most older siblings, you want to just jump in and take care of your younger one, want to, bottle feed her and give her toys to play with and all that kind of stuff. But you took it beyond that. Even till tomorrow, I still see you feeling the need to advocate for her, making sure that you come back to the high school where you graduated to engage with the teachers you worked with and insist on them understanding your sister better and working with her as well. So just little things that you do unprompted in the home base and stuff. Just how you ask questions about what needs to be done, support with grocery shopping or making, meals for your siblings, making sure that the environment is clean and stuff. And it's just the whole nine. So I like the fact that you do draw that line to self leadership and how that helps you to have being a leader outside of the home and so on and so forth. Like you, I had a similar, upbringing. My parents raised us to have sense of self, and self-respect, to step up and do right, do well. So I think my sense of leadership, yeah, really did start from that standpoint. Um, Going off to um, before I went into college in high school, I was the health prefect. That is so funny. I ended up being a physician, but I was a health prefect, and my best friend was the head girl, we call it, or the female lead of the SGA, is how we'll put it. And we were on the leadership team, leading our peers. Fast forward. I, went into college and um, did not see so much a lot of leadership position, but it was just natural that when things were happening that mattered, I would be a part of the group to move forward. And I think over the years, most of my peers kind of always knew that leading and doing things differently was something that I enjoyed doing. Post medical school, I chose to go out of the country to do my postgraduate, and the only one from my class at the time, uh, in Ghana, and so on and so forth. So I think for me, that sense of self had always been strong, and that had always led, me and my purpose, and really being a leader truly is not just a one-off. It's a baby steps that happen over the years, and I think that beautiful realization is what, I'm happy, and what everyone should remember and know as well. True leadership also means serving. There was never anyone who remembered me as a good leader that did not benefit from how I did something right, or how I led something right, right? So it's not just about you calling yourself a leader, it's how people feel about you, how you lifted it up, and how you stay grounded in your values.
Yeah. It's funny that you bring that up because the first activity we had was actually like a self-reflection workshop based on strengths and weaknesses. So we had taken a quiz, like the Clifton Strengths quiz, in our career success class, I think the semester before, and we had to refer back to those. And it was fun to see the results again with like new eyes and being self-aware and how my key trips wrapped up with how I led. And that part you mentioned about serving, one of my key traits was belief. And in our belief system, like serving is how you do God's work. So I just think that it's really important to know those different things about yourself, and that shows up in how you lead. And just moving even deeper into the leads program, we had different stages. Like, so we started off with the strengths and awareness, and then we moved into relationship management, personal branding, communication, and then diversity and inclusion. So we were trying to do this so we can understand like who we are and then how we then work with others, and then understand that we contribute to something bigger than just ourselves.
That's solid as a foundation for what you're learning, what you're trying to do. Because I've seen so many professionals keep that first part, like as I said about self-awareness, you have to know yourself, and how you show up, and it also matters in how you lead. And I wanted to add to that. You know, this whole thing about leadership is really
Hmm.
something that it's not, it's a state of being that,
Hmm.
evolves over time. It's not a one and done. So it's
Yeah.
just, that self-awareness is key because, you have to be aware every day, every month,
Hmm.
every moment, to
Hmm.
really know how you can guide people, lead
Yeah.
people towards something positive.
Yeah, because you're also changing as a person as you're growing up. So then
Exactly.
your leadership is also going to
Exactly.
change as well. So you have to
Exactly.
constantly like keep a checklist of, okay, this is how I feel now. How am I going to now do what I need to do with those new feelings. And I remember one of our sessions was on emotional intelligence and communication. And we talked about how emotions drive our decisions more than we think. And I think it changed how I approach my teamwork and just regular class projects, on top of my extracurriculars. It made me like learn to pause and think, what is motivating someone else's reaction instead of trying to take things personally so that I can better address the problem.
Absolutely. I mean, it's so funny you say that because this is maturity in action, and now I can use that as a stepping stone into discussing leadership in practice, where in the business world, your emotional intelligence level separates you from the pack. It separates you from being a manager into from being a manager and being a leader, because
Hmm.
you have to be aware to look beyond uh, the noise. I would call it, and it's not saying that the noise doesn't matter. It's just saying that you still have a goal to accomplish, and that, should always be the focus of how can I get focused enough to accomplish the goal and not be distracted, right? So in practice, the leadership looks a lot like what you're trying to, explain in terms of being aware. It's not about controlling people. It's really about guiding people. I remember one time I was transitioning to a new job, and it was going to be a leadership job. My one of my first executive roles, and I was speaking to one of my mentors, and what he told me was, I know that you are going to become a CEO because that's what you want to do. But the advice I want to give you is that you need to know who you are as a leader. You need to know your strengths. You need to know your weaknesses. And when you identify your weaknesses are, then as you are recruiting a team of leaders to support and work with you, your COO, your CFO, your CAO, and so on and so forth, you want to find people who have strengths in the areas where you have weaknesses, because that's how you position yourself for success. So I think it's easy for somebody to show up and say, I'm not weak. I'm a leader. It's easier for me to tell you all the things I'm great at. It's more humbling and introspective to say, this is what I know I'm not good at, and I need help with it. So that was insightful because at this time, this man has been the CEO for over 25 years. So for him to tell me that he had weaknesses, and he made sure and makes sure that his leadership team are a group of people who cover for what he's weak in, was very humbling to learn. And that sort of has taken me a long ways. Um, Over time, I have, like you said, evolved in leadership, personally and professionally. And now I practice what I call Kaizen leadership. It's a philosophy I developed over the years. And this philosophy embraces continuous improvement principles, but is informed by micro and macroeconomics and driven by a value-based mindset and trust. So the foundations for this kind of leadership include micro and macroeconomics, value-based mindset, trust building, and continuous improvement principles. I speak more about this, on my posts from time to time, but I do take being a good and impactful leader seriously. That I studied the art um, of leadership. So those things are things that I hold near and dear to my heart. And if you want me to share more about the
Yeah,
foundational
please.
principles, I
I was just
can.
about to ask you. Yes.
Oh, you were? Oh, okay. That's fine. So for micro and macroeconomics, there's a foundational pillar for Kaizen leadership. With the microeconomic lens, you are looking at the organizational level, how you're optimizing resource allocation, how you're enhancing your cost structures, how you're responding to market dynamics and driving innovation instrumentally. On a macro level, you're thinking on a broader scale, like how you're understanding the national productivity drivers. How are you supporting employment stability within your control and promoting your global competitiveness, right? The second pillar is value-based mindset, is looking at it from an external, internal, viewpoint. From an external viewpoint, you're prioritizing consumer-centered needs. You're ensuring that every improvement enhances quality, reliability, and the satisfaction for your consumers or your customers. And then your decision making shifts, you know, balancing being efficient with being ethically responsible and what you're doing that is leading to societal impact. And then on the internal side, your value-based mindset means investing in your people, developing skills, fostering engagement, aligning your work with purpose, um, really truly understanding at the core value that you bring to others matters. Um, and I will pause here and just tell a small story that your grandpa used to tell us uh, when we were growing and choosing to transition back into the U.S. or the U.K. To study and then live. Yeah, he while he was at Pitt, he had a job as an assistant professor teaching a math class, and he was able to get some money through that to take care of his family. And after he had taught for a couple weeks, the students had gone to the professor, the head of the department, and said that they didn't want your grandpa to teach them anymore because they could not understand his accent, that he had such a thick Nigerian accent. And my dad was informed that they would have to look for a replacement for him, and that really bothered him. So he told the professor that he will try his best to the head of the department to do something different this time and see if that helps with the students' understanding. So I think what he tried to do in the moment was not get upset about the students complaining about his accent, feeling that that was a disadvantage, and really trying to say, if my goal here is to teach them to understand math, then that's my goal regardless. And my dad was a phenomenal math teacher. He taught all of us, he tutored all of us in math um, and some other science subjects. But what he did was that he recalled that he had a friend who he used to try to help, in math, and he was hard of hearing. His friend was hard of hearing, so he would do a lot of writing to teach his friend. So he decided to try that in the class. So he went back to class. He said, he knows he's going to get a replacement, but he wants to try something different this time. That he'll write a math problem and have the students um, respond to that math problem. Who'll give them about, 3 to 5 minutes, and then who'll go back on the board and solve the problem. And then they can compare notes and see what, they didn't understand and what he can teach them, and kind of focus more on that. So he did that. And he had this, super smart set of kids who always sat in front of the class. And my dad never really solved math past the third line. There's just something he had with numbers that he could always take that shortcut. And now when the students saw him do this repeatedly that day, they were now more intrigued at his approach to solving the math problems. Like they wanted to get to the answer as fast as he could. So they went back to the head of the department and said that they don't want him to leave, that they want to keep my dad. And because of that, they tried their best to hear and understand his accent, right? Because they wanted to understand what he was doing. And he said to us that was value. He was bringing value to these students, and that was why they figured out a way to work with him. So he told us, he said, so when you do go anywhere, um, and including when you're going abroad, remember, know your value and make sure you bring value. And people will know you, people will know how to say your name. I don't know why he included that. I guess they couldn't pronounce his last name easily, but they'll know you, they'll know how to say your name, and they will find a way to work with you. And that stuck with me. And that's why that's one of my foundational pillars of my Kaizen leadership is that you have to have a value-based mindset. How can you bring value? And then the last pillar is trust building. Maintain transparency and reinforce credibility when you can, because that builds trust. You have to empower your team by delegating authority. You must not be the leader for everything. You have to be comfortable to understand that everybody else can lead and they can lead in their own way. So long as you can guide them towards a goal and towards a style of how you want things done for the greater good of everybody and the benefit of meeting your clients' needs. That's the important part. You have to model it's a Kaizen term, the Gemba driven leadership, which means are you the kind of leader that rolls up their sleeve, like you get your hands dirty and your team see that you can, right? I used to like this show on the Undercover Boss, right? Because people
I like that one
connect
too.
with you more and
Hmm.
they tell you the truth more when you can come down from your high horse and really show that you're willing to do the work and lead by
Hmm.
example. And you kind of now create the psychological safety and an improvement culture where people can really see themselves in you and you can see yourself in them. And the last pillar, which is very essence of Kaizen leadership, is continuous improvement, small incremental changes that compound in significant results. So support things that are incremental the best you can because you're building and you're carrying people along. What that does for you is you get buy-in that is strong and sustained in anything that you want to do as a leader. So it supports innovation through iteration, right? Innovation through iteration. So maintain an organizational culture where continuous improvement is more than just a one-off. It's actually a habit. It's the way you do things. So in my years of leading teams, everyone has had different communication styles, motivations, personal challenges, and all that stuff. My job again wasn't to force alignment with what I do, how I do. It was to build clarity and build trust. And then we can all come together and understand what the ask is, what the client delivery focus is. And that has really worked out for me employing my Kaizen leadership philosophy. And that's what you see me demonstrate, and happy to keep doing that.
Yeah, thank you for sharing all of that. Hearing that story about Grandpa. It's nice to know how he held it down
Oh, he
at Pitt.
was, he was, he was amazing. Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like another thing that the Leads program emphasized, which you brought up, is trust. During one of our group, we did multiple group exercises actually, but we had to
Mhm.
do tasks that were complex, but we didn't have too much direction. So it did get chaotic, but it showed how leadership isn't about just knowing every single thing and going by the book, but it's about listening and adapting to like who you are, like who is in your environment at the time.
That's key. And I think when you say some of these things, sometimes it's always good to put a face to the name. So
Mhm.
if I ask you, who is an example of a leader that
Mhm.
that you look up to or you like, someone that inspires you to be a better leader, you think I can learn from this person to lead?
Well, I actually get this question asked a lot,
Oh,
and
really?
I typically say you. I typically
Oh, me.
it's like my
Uh-huh.
mom. Yeah, I always
Anybody
said.
else?
I mean, that's always my answer, and I keep it there because I don't really have to look that much further. You know, I think that um, like you've already sold so much at home and through your own personal journey. And then as I've detailed before, I've also been leading from a young age. So it's like I already feel like I have a stance on I know where I'm going. And then if I need a little extra help, then I'm just like, oh, I have that at home. So it's just really, it is a blessing at the end of the day to really have that example really close to me.
I mean, thank you for saying that. I would assume that, but to hear you say it the way you say it, no matter how often you say it to me, it still is humbling, because I think when you become a parent, the first thing that comes to mind is I have to be a good example. And that is intentional, that is important. So to actually have it manifest itself in the way that is happening between you and I, it's really humbling, and I'm grateful for that. And your journey is similar to mine, in terms of how leadership started from the home, how leadership started young when I was in, high school or secondary school back in Nigeria. And even in college, and then beyond college, and it's leading in professional things and personal things. Like you, I was known to be a very talented dancer, and I would always lead the talent shows and do all sorts of performance, and I'll be the one to watch, right? Because it was just natural for me to lead in those things and excel in them, and people trust that, oh, you just have to call her to execute, and it will happen. But this has also translated even in my current social circles, today, be it in my healthcare circle or business circle and things like that. Is people see me as somebody who um, will serve you well. I will serve you well, and for me, that's leadership.
So what would you say your example has been?
Oh wow, my papa.
Okay, so you're
I
taking my
mean,
answer.
yes, but I mean, my mom as well, in her own right. Uh, I would also say, if I'm taking it externally, um, beyond that, President Barack Obama, I think his calm approach to leadership has always something that I really admire. You know, so those Michelle as well. It's easy to think of him and think of
Shout
Michelle
out to
Obama at the
both.
same time, but there are others. There's Oprah. There those that are visibly known, that if I mention their names, you know them. But I also had professors along the way that you may not know, who I thought were spectacular leaders in how they did what they did and how they navigated, and so it's I've been blessed to see a number of people as examples, but I must give the credit to my dad, who got me started off, on that journey. Yeah.
Guess you guys learned a little bit more about us in that. Um,
We did. I mean, and you can have all the strategy in the world,
mhm.
as a leader, but people don't trust you, um, execution will fall apart. So your leadership, you know, being grounded in something that you have honed as a person growing up, till when you show yourself to the world the way you do, it's huge. Yeah.
Yeah, there's always a connection there. And I feel like leadership can mean it can mean anything, whether it's being in a group project, even though I know a lot of me and my peers, we don't like it at times, so people don't pick up their slack, but you might have to be a leader in that space or even in business. Like you said, creating a culture where people feel seen and
Yeah.
capable is just really important. And I feel like one of the biggest lessons I learned from the Pitt LEADS program is that leadership isn't just a skill to like put on your resume or on your LinkedIn page, but it's a habit and it's something you have to show up for every day. And whether you're managing a team or you're managing yourself, you have to be consistent with it.
That's actually true. And for me, I think, one thing that, I want to say is that once you find yourself, you know, knowing how to lead, or leading your life well, it just comes naturally. It's just who you are. Like, people will tell you more than you even realize or tell yourself that you're leading. I mean, some things goes without saying, because of course, if you run a company, you have to lead the company. That's your job, right? Um, Leadership is hardest when it's not even clear that you must or you can, but you show up and you do it. So I think for me, those are things to keep in mind. Like I lead the African American parent liaison work in the county, where you all and go to school. So that's huge because it's again stepping up to see, well, how can we support students to have high academic achievement, to be college ready and stuff like that. And that's through different things, through social and academic activities you support, and just rallying around together to know exactly what are we trying to accomplish, and being able to um, meet people where they are. You really have to do the work of, you know, um, socializing ideas and getting buy-in, and really, bringing people along towards something that they can all support. Leadership is built one decision at a time. The same discipline that helped you stay organized as a student in school, trust me, as you know now, helps you to lead just in general in your career. So for you, I want you to hear, even though you've had some leadership roles already, what you're doing to be intentional about leadership, even joining this program at Pitt, the Pitt LEADS program. These things help to make sure that when you transition to the boardroom, it's natural. You just have to learn the politics in the
Of a
moment because
civic
it's
organization,
different.
yeah.
Yeah, you have to learn about the trade, and you've gotten into a little bit better, and different things like that. But the core of leadership and working with people is something you already know. So context changes, but the principle of leadership does not.
And I feel like that's what so many co-curriculars at my school, and I believe other schools do well, and tying into your academic success is preparing you for past graduation. And I feel like there's only so much that a regular class can teach you. And there's also so much you can put into a class about leading. So having like a co-curricular program where you're going once a week and you're learning how to lead yourself about your schedule, your mindset, your emotions, and you can learn how to lead people more effectively. I think having stuff like that outside the classroom is almost just as crucial as your regular coursework to then go after graduation and get into the workforce.
Absolutely. And now we want to hear from you, our listeners. We've had a very insightful dialogue about leadership from a personal perspective and how that transitions to a professional perspective. We want to know and learn from you too, like what
Mhm.
one leadership lesson uh, shaped your life, how you work, how you study, how you live. We will want to hear from you.
Mhm. So whether it's from what you learned from a mentor, a parent, as we've spoken about, a program like Pitt Leads, or just your own experience walking through life, we want you to share your stories with us on our social media handles. That includes Spotify, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram at the Business Between Us podcast. We also have our personal LinkedIn's at Nkem and Siyonna KK, and we have our email at businessbetweenus@gmail.com. So please like, comment, share, subscribe, and follow us at the Business Between Us on all these platforms.
Okay, so let's wrap this up. Can you
Yeah.
share your key takeaway?
Okay. Honestly, I feel like I have a million at this point in this conversation. Um, but I think that what I've just gathered is that not only that leadership is not just a title, it's a
Mm-hmm.
journey. And then on that journey, as you're growing and leading, you have to know what value you add to each space. And then you also need to learn how to be vulnerable enough to talk about what you struggle with or what you're better in so that you can bring other people in and just have a better outcome on whatever you're working on.
I agree. And my key takeaway is, like you said, there's lots of nuggets there, but for me, my takeaway is that true leaders inspire trust through consistency and compassion. And you don't have to have all the answers. You just have to be authentic, you have to be intentional, and you have to be consistent.
Okay, that wraps up this episode. I really enjoyed this conversation.
Me too.
Next time, we'll be having another deep conversation about business, ethics, and comparative politics, and how culture, morality, and global perspective intersect into leadership.
Very relevant, especially in the moment. So I will wrap up with a quote. Leadership is not often defined by your title. It is the ability of you to inspire action and growth in other people. So thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time on the business between us.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.